So before we get started today, I wanted to let you know about the drop that's happening on the Sleeves Chief website today at 8 p.m. They will restock a bunch of sleeves, and I know you guys are going to be excited for that because a lot of stuff is coming back. The hero border sleeves, the branded collection stuff, and also they are dropping new dino sleeves, and can we just appreciate how pretty they look? I just love the little baby Ceratosaurus and everything that's on there. So if you want anything from the Sleeves Chief website, make sure to go through the link in my description box below, which really helps the channel. And you can also use my code SHADOW for 5% off your entire order at checkout, so make sure to snatch some accessories. And as for the video today, we're going to be talking about budget decks. In the new format, a lot of us are still asking ourselves the question, which decks are going to be good? What decks should I play? Maybe you don't want to invest a lot of money. Some people just don't. And I'm happy to say that a lot of decks are very budget friendly right now. And if you have some of your own ideas, please make sure to share them in the comments down below and let me know what you're going to be playing, especially if the deck is budget, so more people can get ideas from the comment section. Also, like the video if you liked it. It really helps the channel. Also, make sure to ding the bell so you are always notified whenever I post. First, let's mention some decks that I already talked about in the last budget decks video that I did a couple weeks ago. But with the new ban list, of course, stuff is going to change. However, these decks are still going to be viable. But because I don't want to repeat myself, we're just going to quickly go through those decks because I really want to emphasize that these decks are still an option for you moving forward. So first we have Rika, which is just a very nice combo deck. A lot of diversity in the end boards that are really hard to break and extremely budget. Then we have Sortso, a deck that really just has been doing the exact same thing for a very long time, but a lot of people are of the opinion that it can just expand and do even more. And if you're trying to play around with things like Denglong or Ringo Worm, if you want to invest a bit more money and invest into Baron, that's also an option. So if you're just trying to explore and do well with a very mid-range deck, I think Sortso would be for you. Then I also mentioned Marinces in the last video, just a very nice deck that's able to end on just consistently good boards with the trap card in hand, a lot of hand traps in hand as well. But right now we're moving to a format that isn't going to be as hand trap heavy, but you still can dedicate all of those slots to tech cards that are going to benefit you. So I think Marinces is still a very fine choice moving forward. And also a deck I mentioned in the last video was Methmec. Now, Methmec did receive a hit on the ban list, but I feel like we just need to find ways to substitute the loss of the 2 circular, and then we should be good. Like, Firewall Defensor is still a thing, Super Heavy Samurai can be played together with the deck, so like, you have a bunch of options, we just need to find them. And as much as, you know, I like to say that I'm not a Methmec fan, I'm still not, but it would be kind of, you know, dumb to just not mention the deck because it's still going to be nice and it is very budget friendly, even if I don't particularly like it. So these are the options from the last video we did on this topic, but today we're gonna mention even more decks. Now the first one is Flunder, and this one is very budget friendly. The only card you need to invest in is Advent Adventure, which is about like 15 or 16 euros, which is still fine for a card that you have to play at 3 copies since the rest of the core is cheap. You know, Flunder has pretty much been doing, just like Sortso, the exact same thing from the get-go, but it's just this nice balance to the meta. It's a good anti-meta strategy if that's the type of deck you're going for. It just disrupts you with cards like Ryza, makes you unable to play with cards like Empen while gaining advantage and a lot of cards. So, you know, the deck is not like the most fun deck to play against, but if you want to play that type of deck, it's still an option. You just basically go for mainly 1-card combos that you can like expand on, and even play cards like Shifter, which as much as Shifter isn't going to be the greatest against some of the top decks, it's still going to be nice against a lot of different ones. And because we're also moving to a diverse format, just like the one we already had, you're probably going to do well against a lot of different decks with Flunder in particular. And moving on to a deck that's probably my favorite one on this list and also very important is Sky Striker. And I say important because a lot of people are still quite indecisive, and I'm among them, as to whether or not Striker is actually going to be a very good contender or just kind of mid moving forward, because the deck really suffered from power creep, but Engage is now at 2, multi-roll is at 3, which, you know, it's probably going to be played at 2, but still, 2 copies of multi-roll, 2 copies of Engage. The deck gained power, and the deck is going to be better, but like, it just feels like it's not able to contend with some of the top decks as of right now, but I'm really looking forward to see what it does. I feel like it can go on a good tournament run and is able to be just built in a lot of different ways. It has strong going second abilities, which not a lot of decks possess, and it's just very high skill intensive and very rewarding if the pilot plays it well. So I like it, you know, it has a bunch of just space to build it however you want to do it. And like, I don't know, linkage is nice, engages it too. There's a lot of good stuff for Striker right now, but we really need to see what happens, how builds are going to be tailored to fit into the meta, and I'm really, really excited to witness all of that. You know, it's a very strong control deck, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Linkage went up in price, which if you had it from before, it's whatever. And even now, the core is still cheap. So even if you have to invest in 3 linkage, it's not so bad. And moving on to the other couple of decks I wanted to talk about today, they're actually trap decks. I feel like we need to respect them, especially since Lightning Storm went to 2. And another reason why is because Labyrinth is like the best, the top trap deck, but it's very expensive compared to some other ones. So because this is a budget decks video, I wanted to talk about Trap Tricks and also Eldritch. I like the Eldritch engine, but I'm so against Floodgates, but I still wanted to mention the deck because like if you want to play it, you can do it. It's like this very stun strategy. You just play Lord. You play cards that are really good at going second at breaking boards, like Kaijus, like Lava Golem, like Santa Claus, these types of things. And then you just fill the rest up with floodgates and trap cards. And what I really like about trap decks is the fact that you can really tailor your builds, not only to the meta, but to your budget as well. Like if you want to invest into something, you do it. You have a ton of space to really decide which kinds of floodgates or normal trap cards you want to play. And then we come to cards like Prosperity. It's very expensive compared to how cores are extremely cheap when it comes to a lot of these decks that we're talking about today. However, if you don't want to invest into Prosperity right now, you don't need to, or if you can't, you don't need to. You can still play these decks and you can always add on top of it. And that's something that I always like to say in these budget decks videos. Yeah, as much as I don't like Stun and Floodgates, if that's something you want to play to really counter the meta, you can do it. A deck that I like more than Eldritch when it comes to trap decks is Trap Tricks, however, because it's really interesting. It has a lot of monster presence, so you're really able to diversify your interruptions between monsters and between trap cards. You can do a lot. You can even OTK. Like, it's a really, really interesting deck, and I feel like it really rewards you for playing it well, for controlling the game, for really knowing the meta and knowing where to disrupt the stuff. And like, I like normal trap cards overall. Like Floodgates are kind of unhealthy, and like just good, just cool normal trap cards, I don't know, I like that. I feel like it's a vibe. A deck like this is just a vibe. I like Trap Tricks, and it's very, very budget friendly because everything is from a structure deck. And the only issue with trap decks is kind of that as time passes, they become much more known to players, so you were able to do better when the structure decks dropped because people weren't as aware as to how the deck functions. But now that some time has passed and Trap Tricks and all of these decks weren't as popular, people might want to like pick them up again and really catch opponents off guard with decks like these. So they are an option for you. And as for the last deck on this list, I wanted to mention Draco Slayer, which is just completely different from everything we've talked about before. It's a combo deck. It's a very nice combo deck that fell off because Kashira was able to block the pendulum zones, and that just really sucks. And the Rise card is annoying, and it just wasn't the correct time to play Draco Slayer. But it's a very, very nice combo deck, like I said. It rewards good gameplay, it creates just insane boards, and you can really decide which engines you want to play. Again, it depends on your budget. You can play cards like Baron if you want, but you don't need to. The core is extremely, extremely cheap, and then in the extra deck, you can just really decide what you have budget for, what kinds of lines of play you want to go for. You can even pair it together with Super Heavy Samurai, which is really interesting. You can get Secret Village of the Spellcasters in your combos, so you turn off spell cards, and just I like it. I may be biased because I was just always a fan of pendulum decks, but I feel like we need to respect the pendulum summoning mechanic as a whole. It's just extremely, extremely busted. And yeah, when the meta is correct, a deck like this is able to shine, in my opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this video. Hopefully I gave you some ideas, and if you pair that together with the last video I did, I think you have a bunch of different options as to what you can play and also not spend a ton of money. You can still do it. You can invest into cards like Prosperity, Baron, and everything we talked about, but you don't need to right away. So if you like this video, if you feel like you got something out of it, if you enjoyed it, please make sure to like it, also sub to the channel, and make sure to go check out Sleeve Chief, get your amazing dino sleeves. Dinos are also quite a budget friendly deck, so like you can get dino sleeves, you can sleeve up your dino deck, and here's another option for you. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.